Welcome back to All This Math. This is Professor Parker. We're coming to you live and direct from North Philly, right in the crib, recording some videos. Please make sure you are subscribed to the All This Math YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're here, go ahead and hit the like button. Just go ahead and hit the like button. All right, since you're already here anyway. All right, share this video. When we're done, share this video with somebody. Share it with at least one other person that may need some help with solving equations that are a little more complicated than the simple one-step equations. All right. Also, if you have any questions about anything that I go over, please drop your questions in the comment section. And if you got a comment, drop your comment in the comment section. All right, now, what are we doing? We're going to solve for A. A is our variable. All right, A is our variable. This is our equation. We got 2A over 3, or we could say 2/3 A, because that means 2/3 times A, is equal to 8 plus 4A. So a couple things I noticed. I noticed that the variable, because that's what A is a variable. It's a letter that represents a number that we don't know right now, right? I noticed that the variable's in two different places. I got an A over here on the left side of the equation. I got another A over here on the right side of the equation with the 4. I got a 4A and I got 2A over 3, right? That's an issue because in order to solve for A, we got to have A in one place. So we got to figure out a way to combine these two terms together, right? That's one thing to keep in mind, right? We got too many A's, right? You can't have A's in two different places. You got to figure out a way to get all the A's in one place on one side of the equation and then combine them into one single A term. All right. That's one thing. Another thing is this term is a fraction and these are not. So typically the way I do problems like this, I don't like to deal with fractions if I don't have to, right? I'm not scared of fractions. I'm not intimidated by them like some people are, unfortunately, but I don't like to work with them if I don't have to. So there are ways that we can eliminate fractions without changing the value of the actual equation, even if the numbers end up changing. So this is what we're gonna do. Like let's do this first, right? Let's get rid of this fraction right here. Let's do that first. All right. I'm gonna show you how to do it. I'm about to show you how to do this. How do you get rid of this fraction? All right. So first we look and say, okay, in this fraction, what is the denominator? The denominator is the bottom number in a fraction. The numerator is the top number in a fraction or the top term, right? Our denominator is 3. In this term, what's this denominator? It don't look like a fraction, do it? So how could it have a denominator? It does though. You know why? Again, I say this often. Math notation is a lot like slang, right? This also could be represented as 8 over 1 or 8 firsts, right? Or 8 over 1. But because we like to use a short, straightforward language to communicate ideas in math, just like wherever you from, whatever part of the country you might be from, or whatever country you from, you probably have a slang that you use with people that you're close to, right? That's not the standard form of the language that you use, right? It might not be standard English or standard Spanish or whatever the language is, right? In math, instead of saying 8 over 1, we just say 8, right? That's like slang basically, right? Instead of saying 4A over 1, we just say 4A, right? So that means that there's like an invisible, or not invisible, but an understood denominator of 1 that both of these have. All right. So understand 8 is the same thing as 8 over 1. 4A is the same thing as 4A over 1. So because of that, the denominators in this problem are 3, 1, and 1. All right. 3, 1, and 1. All right. Now, with that being said, then second thing you do is ask yourself this question. This is how we develop critical thinking skills. By doing algebra, we're asking ourselves questions. This is how you practice critical thinking and developing critical thinking skills, which we need for life. So this is why we do these problems, right? This is one of the many reasons. So when people sit in a math class, say, why I got to learn this? How is this going to help me? What I need to know this for? So you can develop critical thinking skills. Because if you don't have critical thinking skills, you're going to do stupid stuff and you're going to be harmed. You're going to be in a lot of dumb situations, all because you ain't have critical thinking skills. So you need to practice practice using critical thinking and developing critical thinking skills. We need that, right? Everybody need that, right? So that's the answer to your question. When you're sitting in class, frustrated, angry, bored, rather be on your phone, rather be on Instagram, whatever, on TikTok or whatever, doing something else, you're going to need critical thinking skills. You're going to need problem solving ability. You're going to need analytical reasoning skills. You're going to need these things. All right. But anyway, what are my denominators? My denominators in this equation are 3, understood 1, understood 1. Then you say, okay, well, what's the LCD out of 3, 1, and 1? The LCD is like the meeting point between 3 and 1, right? What's the smallest number that they both multiply into? Well, 3 times 1 is 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. So 3 is the LCD. So when you're in a situation like that, what you do is you can draw brackets around the whole equation. And this is only one way to do it. You don't got to do it like this, right? But this is how I'm choosing to do it, right? Because I like to get rid of fractions. Then you take that LCD, that least common denominator, and if you need to brush up on how to find a least common denominator, I have videos in my fractions and mixed numbers playlist that specifically address that. So you might want to go tap in to one of them videos in that playlist. You take the LCD, you multiply everything in the equation. It's like the distributive property. Every term, every one of these three terms is going to be multiplied by 3. Now, what's going to happen when I multiply this 2a over 3 by 3? The 3's are going to cancel out. They're going to cancel out. That's the shortcut way to do it, right? The 3's cancel out. If you want to do it the long way, all right, that's cool too. What's 3 times 2a? 6a. Because 3 times 2 is 6. So 3 times 2a is 6a. And then what would 6a divided by 3 be equal to? What's 6 divided by 3? 2. And then we got the a is still there. So 6a divided by 3 is 2a. So like I said, isn't that the same as just canceling out the 3's? If you do it the long way, you still get left with 2a because 6 divided by 3 is 2. That's why we left with 2a. So now we're going to have 2a, and look at that. The fraction is gone. That's the whole purpose. That was the whole purpose of us doing that. Always keep in mind, like, yo, why are we even doing this step, right? Keep that in mind. Why? Because we trying to get rid of the fraction. Why you want to get rid of the fraction? Because the problem is easier to work out if you don't have no fractions. Fractions make things a little more complicated sometimes. We want to try to simplify things. All right. Now, don't forget though, this 3 gets multiplied by everything, not just the fraction. So you can like knock out that denominator. Nah, we got to multiply 3 by everything. So you still got to do 3 times 8. And you need to know your multiplication facts. You need to know that 3 times 8 is 24 at the top of your head. You need to just know that, right? And then we're going to do 3 times 4a, which is going to be 12a, right? So that's our new equation. New equation, no fractions. New equation, no fractions. Now, like I said earlier, another thing we got to do is we got to get these a's together. We got to get these a's together. These a's got to get together, right? Because we need one a term, not 2 different a terms. If we want to solve for a, we need one a term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this 12. I'm going to slide this 12a over here by doing subtraction. The opposite of adding 12a is subtracting 12a. And I'm going to keep it balanced. So I'm going to do that on the left side too. That's going to become 0. Bring the equal sign down. Bring the 24 down. And then ask yourself, what's 2 minus 12? What's 2 take away 12? 2 take away 12 is negative 10. We got to know how to do addition and subtraction with positive and negative numbers. Think about the number line. If you was at 2 on the number line, right? Let's say I had a number line up here. I should have put one up here. I might do that, right? Slide Assata Shakur up a little bit. Slide Kwame Ture up a little bit. Put a little number line right here. I might do that. That's how I used to be in my classrooms. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, if you start at 2, right? And whenever you subtract, you slide to the left. You slide to the left, not the right. Subtraction means you slide to the left. Then this second number, which is technically called a subtrahend, right, tells you how many spaces to move. So we go 12 spaces to the left. So we would go from 2, we go 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10. That's where we would stop at. That's 12 spaces. Wherever you stop at is the answer. All right. So that's going to be -10a. Don't forget about the a. So then we got -10a equals 24. All right. Now we're trying to get a by itself. Now we got a in one place. We don't got a in 2 different places. We got a in one place. That's key. You got to get your variable in one place, right? Not 2 different places. You can't have variables all over the place, right? You got to put the a's together. All right. It's called consolidation. You got to consolidate the variables. All right. Now, how do we get a by itself? Get rid of this -10. Eliminate this -10. How? By doing an inverse operation. Some people say opposite operation. I usually say opposite operation, but some people say inverse operation. First of all, what's the operation that -10 is involved in right now with the a? -10a means -10 times a. Multiplication. Multiplication. -10 times a. Multiplication. Right? So what's the opposite of multiplication? See, now we practicing critical thinking. We first ask yourself, well, what do I need to get rid of? -10, right? Identify that. Then you say, okay, well, how do I get rid of it? By doing the opposite operation. Then we say the opposite of what? That means you got to ask yourself, what is -10 involved in? That's practicing critical thinking. We need critical thinking. right? Just like in everyday life, we need critical thinking skills, right? We need to be able to ask the right questions and to get the right answers, to figure things out and solve our problems, right? That's a life skill for real. Not just in the classroom, but in everyday life, walking down the block, around the way, going to the store, doing what you got to do, right? That's a life skill, critical thinking. All right. So this is multiplication. So that means you got to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, something else you need to know. So we're going to divide by the same exact number, not by 10, because that's not a 10, that's a negative 10. Say the word negative out loud. That's a negative 10. Divide by negative 10. And then we keep it balanced. If I divide by negative 10 on the left-hand side, I'm also going to divide by negative 10 on the right-hand side. That's how we keep everything balanced. So negative 10 divided by negative 10 is 1. So that equals 1a. And 1a, slang version, right? How do we say 1a? Just a. Just leave it as a. And then what's 24 divided by negative 10? So first of all, a positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative quotient. Quotient, that's math vocabulary, right? Whenever you divide, your answer is called a quotient. So then we got 24 divided by 10, that's going to be 2.4, right? Because whenever you divide by 10, you're basically just taking the decimal point and moving it one space to the left. Now, you might be saying, but there ain't no decimal point there. It's understood that 24 has a decimal point after the 4, even if it's not written. It's an unwritten decimal point after the 4. So when you divide by 10, you move that decimal point one space to the left because there's 1 0 in 10. If we was dividing by 100, 100 has 2 zeros. So we will move the decimal place how many spaces? 2. You move the decimal point as many spaces as you have zeros. If we was dividing by a million got 6 zeros. We would move the decimal point 6 spaces over. And then you say, whoa, but it's only 2 numbers. Yeah. So you'd have placeholders in the next 4 spaces. So it'll be zeros. It'll be a decimal point, then 4 zeros, then 2 4. All right. But I think I got a whole video where I'm just talking about that. All right. Well, if I don't, I need to make one. Come to think of it. Yeah, that would be helpful. I need that. All right. So 24 divided by negative 10 is going to be negative 2.4. So A equals negative 2.4. Now let's check our work because we want to see if this is true. So we're going to do 2 times negative 2.4 over 3 is equal to 8 plus 4 times negative 2.4. Now we think this is true. Let's see if it's true. Now 2 times negative 2.4, right? You gotta have some multiplication skills. If you do 2 times 2, that's 4. 2 times 0.4, that's 0.8. So that's negative 4.8 over 3. Negative 4.8. If you throw that in the calculator, it's going to give you negative 4.8. All right. Then we got over here, we got 8. And then 4 times 2.4 is going to be negative, because a positive times a negative gives you a negative. That's going to be negative 9.6. Because 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 0.4 is 1.6. So 8 plus 1.6 is 9.6. But it's negative because a positive times a negative gives you a negative. Positive times a negative gives you a negative. So now, what's 4.8 divided by 3? Negative 4.8 divided by 3. Well, dig this. I know that 48 divided by 3 is 16. I know that because I know my division facts, because I know my multiplication facts. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So that means negative 4.8, 4.8 divided by 3 should be 1.6. Like $4.80 divided up in 3 ways should be, check the time real quick. 4.8 divided by 3 should be 1.6. But a negative divided by a positive will give you a negative. So we got negative 1.6. And then 8 minus 9.6 is going to be negative 1.6. So that's a true statement. So therefore, the answer, correct answers give us true statements. Incorrect answers give us falsehoods and lies, right? That's a true statement. So therefore, this is correct. A equals negative 2.4. All right. So if you didn't already, go ahead and hit that like button. All right. Go ahead and hit that like button. All right. Also subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. All right. Also share this video with somebody. Like, this is like, a more complex problem where, you got variables in 2 different places. You got a fraction. You know what I'm saying? I'm really putting y'all on, like letting y'all know how to do these complicated problems. You know what I'm saying? All right. Share this with somebody. Don't be selfish. All right. Also, if you still have questions, that's cool. Put your questions in the comments. Go ahead, drop your questions in the comments. Or if you just want to make a comment, go ahead, drop a comment. All right. And I'll see y'all on the next video. I got to get to a tutoring session. Peace.